Good morning. This is Shawn Sandridge, and I am bringing you an intro to my video. I hope you enjoy it. It is about mothers and daughters. I didn't go too deep, but I will leave it up for dialogue in the comment section just to give you my viewpoints about the complicated and sometimes complicated relationship between mothers and daughters. So I hope you enjoy the video. Forgive the misspoke comments and incorrect grammar, but I was walking and talking. I had been running, and so I sound a little breathless, but forgive a girl for all that, and I hope you enjoyed the video. My daughter told me that Basketball Wives will be on tonight, the reunion. I do plan to watch it. I do plan to live tweet it. So don't forget, you can find me on other social media platforms. You can check me out here on YouTube. You can check me out on Twitter. You can check me out on Periscope and on Instagram, same name, keeping it simple. Have a fantastic Monday. I hope this is a great start to your week. Take care of yourself and each other. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hey y'all, this is Shawn Sandridge, and I am out here. I'm gonna do a chapter from like Ashler Miller's Walking and Talking. I'm going to do this as a walking and talking segment. So Ashley, if you see this video, don't get mad, because the greatest form of flattery is emulation. So I figured this would be fitting because my daughter and I are out, and we are on the trail enjoying this great weather that we're having. And I promised you guys I was going to do a video. So first of all, I'm going to apologize for all the movement, but I am holding it in my hand. And second, I don't know, I may turn it off because it feels really weird walking and talking. We're out here in public. So first of all, check me out on my other social media platforms. You can check me out on Periscope. You can check me out on Instagram, where I post almost every day my fitness inspiration pictures of what I'm doing. And you can check me on Twitter, same name, keeping it simple. And listen, I've got my Fitbit. I'm going to add this to it as well. So for those of you who may not know, I am working on losing 20 pounds by the end of 2017. December 31st, my son and I have a somewhat friendly wager, wondering if I can lose 20 pounds by December 31st, 2017. So I have that going on. And if you want to join me and be part of my Fitbit family, just look me up, Shawn Sandridge. I've got a Fitbit Blaze, and if you go and try to contact me on Fitbit and you want to just have some encouragement and just do something fun, and you're another YouTuber, I would love to have I would love for you to just contact me on the Fitbit community, and we can see how many steps we do every day. So I usually post what I do with my Fitbit. So anyway, so I was going to do a video called Mothers and Daughters. It's hashtag it's complicated. And the truth of the matter is that I really got inspired by all of the shenanigans that has been going on with the reality show Basketball Wives, and specifically Jackie Christie. Now, I feel like I need to do some housekeeping announcements, okay? And if you saw in my other video, when I talk about Jackie Christie and Mothers and Daughters, for one, I'm not team anyone. Not team Evelyn or team Jackie. Okay, so that's one. Second of all, I just want to give a different perspective on what everyone's been talking about, because like I said, in some things I agree and there's some other things I don't agree. Hi. And that's really not my point of making the video. The point of the video that I want to do is to convey that in lots of relationships, whether it's, hi, good, friendships, love relationships, siblings, family relationships, it can be complicated, okay? So I wanted to pose this as a teachable moment about mothers and daughters. And although it may seem like I'm one-sided, I'm really not. There's a part of me that wants to play devil's advocate. And there's a part of me that wants to just kind of open up the idea of what relationships look like. And they're complicated, and they're muddy, and they aren't, they're not as cut and dry as we want to say when we are commentating on the outside looking in, okay? So I've been watching the whole season of Basketball Wives. I actually did not want to watch it, but I do watch the reviews. Part of watching the reviews, I ended up watching the show. And I think it's coming on tonight. And if it does come on tonight, I probably will live tweet. I don't know. I don't know, with all the craziness that's been going on. I really have been trying to stay off TV so that my mind doesn't turn into mush. But if it's coming on tonight, I don't know. Maybe it's tomorrow. But if it is, I'm going to try to live tweet it. No promises. Anyway, I have, if you look on my archives, I have talked about my relationship with my mother. And the first thing I want to say is that if you are someone who has had an exceptional relationship with your mother, I applaud you. I think that's fantastic. I think that you have been blessed, and I think that if you have been in a situation where you are a child, adult child, who can say, I truly feel like I had the best mother in the world, and that she really helped model the kind of mother I want to be or wanted to be for my children, I say that you don't keep that a secret. You go out and you tell people that. You know, when people see you and the type of mother you are, you give your mother props, okay? All right? But I think more often than not that most of us have a mother, and I'm not talking about dads, because this is, like I said, I got inspired from Jackie Christie, so I'm just talking about mothers, and I'm a mother. I would say that most of us come from a place where we realize some point in our childhood, young adulthood, that our mothers were flawed. And for better or for worse, maybe we come up with the synopsis that, you know, she didn't get it all right. And some mothers didn't get it right a lot of times, but they did the best that they could. And there's a point in time in your adult life that you do take stock of the things that may have been done to you, may have been wrong to you. It may not even have been abuse. I would like to chuck it up, and I can only speak for myself, that my mother and I didn't have a fantastic relationship. I wouldn't write a book about her, but I would say that there's a humanness that comes to our realization when we realize that our parents are human beings and they're flawed people. And once you come up with that realization, when you come up with that realization that these are flawed human beings just as I am, and they did the best they could with what they had, with their own limitations, that there's a part where you have to just have a resolve. I don't know what that means. For everybody. I don't know if that means forgiveness. I don't know if that means it is what it is. You have to come up with whatever that resolvement is. For me, my mom came to me in her own way when I turned 40. And by the time I was 41, she couldn't speak anymore. And in that vulnerability of that year, I realized that, she did what she could. And there's a lot of things she did right. And the things that she didn't get right, I take that for myself into mothering as a learning lesson. And the things sometimes our parents teach us is what not to do. That being said, this whole issue with Jackie and Takari and this complicated relationship between mothers and daughters, I don't even think it's an issue of do I believe that what she's saying, Takari, the daughter, is truthful. I think for the most part, there's a lot of things that she has said in the past that is truthful, and her half-sister Shani has backed her up. VH1, you guys are no good, because all this time leading up to the reunion, they have been doing a whole bunch of throwbacks of seasons past. And of course, I watch other YouTubers and they've been bringing it up. But VH1 has been bringing it up too, with receipts, video clips of things that have been done and in past seasons. And there was, the whole issue with Laura Govan, with Laura Govan talking to Shani, befriending Shani, and she did it with the purpose of getting back at Jackie. And she talked to Shani, and Shani confirmed or affirmed that Takari was treated differently, that there was an issue of colorism, and there was an issue of I guess, fat shaming. And I remember there was a clip that they did for a throwback where Jackie wanted to do therapy with her daughters, of which her daughters did not want to do, but she kind of ambushed them. And believe it or not, Chantel was the real vocal one about talking about Jackie not being there to tuck them in at night. And she was a good provider, but essentially saying she wasn't a nurturer. Okay? So here's that teachable moment. And I remember also that Jackie was getting mad because she didn't like what the girls were saying about Jackie. And I think if you're a parent and you've asked those types of questions, that the way they interpret their childhood is not always the way you see it as a parent. You're coming from different lenses. And I think anybody who knows, either in your own family or you have family members where you have a family and there's multiple siblings and they lived under the same household, and had the same parents. And how is it all of these kids interpret things differently? Well, that's because we're different people, you know? And we internalize and interpret different things. And the only thing I can say about Jackie in those situations when she was with the therapist is that instead of letting her children say what they had to say, she became very, very defensive. And she would not let them own the feelings of how they interpreted their childhood. It's not a matter necessarily in some respects if it's good or bad. It's what they saw. It's how they felt. And Jackie did not want to accept that. And for a lot of us, especially mothers, the ones of us who wake up every day with the intentions on doing best for their kids, can take that to heart. So, do I believe there was an issue of colorism in the family? I wouldn't doubt it. Would Jackie be the first person in a family that treated one sibling different because of their color? This isn't anything new. It's nothing new. Do I feel that Jackie treated one child differently because of their weight? Wendy Williams mentioned that about her mother. She mentioned it a lot, especially in the beginning of her first several seasons, mentioning the fact that her mother put her on a diet when she was young. Okay? And everybody loves Wendy Williams' mother. Wendy Williams loves her own mother. She sits in the front row when they come into town from Florida. So this isn't anything new. But I will say, obviously, how a child internalizes it can be for the good or for the bad, okay? As a parent, we do things to our children and for our children that we have no idea if it's going to be to the good or to the bad. You know, we can push our children to do well and to excel, and depending on the child, they can either use that to fuel them, or they can feel that they're not good enough, you know? And unfortunately, we don't get the manual about parenting. We only take what we learn from our own experiences as a child and what our moms and grandmothers did, and we kind of pass it on. And if it's something you didn't like, you discard it, and the things that you do like, you take them. But we are always going to be a subject of our experiences. I don't know any parent who has said something to their own child and have felt, oh Lord, I am now sounding like my mother. It's almost inevitable. Okay. So the things that Takari may have experienced, I don't deny them. I wasn't there. I don't know. Let's just say that they are true. Let's talk about now, today. She is a grown woman with children of her own. And I would say, putting on my daughter's hat, if I was a friend of her and we were talking about our mothers, she's telling me about her mother and I'm talking to her about my mother, there comes a time, you know, we cannot erase the things that have been done to us, but we do have a choice when we become adults. And if we are adults, and I'm talking about full-fledged adults leading our own lives, we now then have to take the ownership of what happens. I may have not liked everything that happened in my childhood, and I may not like the feelings, but then at a point, we take the baton of the things that have been inflicted on us, And we either have to mend it and heal it, or we have to, or it's going to eat us up. Let's put it that way. I think then there becomes a choice, because when you're little, you don't have a choice of how a parent treats you, but you do have a choice of the type of relationship you want with your mother or any parent or any adult relative in your life. You decide. You now take on that driver's seat and decide how you want your relationship to be with your mother. And you can decide you're going to have boundaries. You can decide that you're going to love someone from afar. You make those decisions. Your parent doesn't get to make those decisions for you anymore. So, many of us don't understand or realize how overwhelming of a task it is to be a parent, to mother a child. It's a great responsibility. And many times until we have our own, do we understand and realize some of the things our mothers had to do, and sometimes they didn't get it right. And it's so funny to me, because I remember when describing my mother, I would say, when everything is a nail, you're a hammer. My mother was a hammer, and that's how she was with discipline. Everything was a nail, and she would just come down with so much forcefulness when it came to discipline. There wasn't any other way that she disciplined except using, force. But when I had my children, she would say, "Have you watched The Nanny?" I'm like, what? What are you talking about, The Nanny? She has really good ideas. Now, I'm looking at her like, you've got to be kidding me. But here she is in her latter years talking about The Nanny. Well, I wish I had The Nanny for my mother back then. I find that really funny. Hi. But none of us gets it right. None of us gets it completely right. And as much as I feel that I take my job as a mother seriously, I've told my kids, listen, if you hit 30 and you got something to sit on the couch with your therapist, I'm just going to tell you now, I'm sorry. Because I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Okay? That doesn't mean everybody does their best. Don't get me wrong. It does not mean that everyone does their best. And I know that there are not great people out there. I know that there should not be parents out there. I know that procreation is a biological situation, and that many, many people should not be parents. Okay? We're going to exit those out. We know that. That's a given. I'm talking about when you do things and they just were not right for whatever reason. And whether you meant to do it or not, sometimes we end up scarring our children and we didn't even know we did it. Okay? But I will also say is that once you become an adult, it's your responsibility, I think, to decide how you want to carry on your relationship with that parent. And that you get to decide how the relationship goes. And I remember, I don't have a judgment in the way Takari is handling it. If this is what she needs to do, who am I to judge? When I had issues with my mother, I dealt with them the way I wanted to deal with them. And I would not expect anybody to get in my way with that. So that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that you need to decide how to heal yourself. Make yourself whole, because as a mother, you now have other people to be responsible for. Hi. And for Takari's sake, I think it's important for her to mend that relationship. If the book is going to give her the catharsis that she needs to heal, okay, I hope it works. I really do. But you can't keep taking your childhood into your present on whole because you're raising other children, and then you're just going to pass the baton on of dysfunction and not break the cycle. And I am a huge component of breaking cycles. I'm not proponent. I truly believe in breaking cycles. I truly believe in breaking family curses. And a lot of times it may begin with you. So, you know, I think about Shawn Bradley and James Colwell. And I only bring their names up because, you know, they're the first to say, you know, when I'm done and I'm ready to be done with it, I say when it's done. And that's why I was mentioning it's not for me or anyone else to decide when Takari wants to get it finished, resolve this issue. She may need to write this book because she needs to get her voice out. It's clear from her interpretation of her experiences that she has not been heard. She's going to write this book so she can be heard. If that's what you need to do, I say do what you need to do. As long as it's going to give you that healing, that means everything. So I've been rambling, walking and talking. And, you know, this parenting stuff is not easy. It's not. And I have a son and a daughter who's raising their firstborn, and they're on the beginning journey of their parenting. And, you know, they may come with some revelations that, you know what? You're right, this was hard. You know, how many of us have apologized to our parents for the things we've done to them? I know I did. I think I might have been 24 when I apologized to my mom for waking her up. My mom used to work nights. I used to wake her up all the time, just bothering her about stupid stuff. She's trying to sleep because she's got to work from midnight to 8 o'clock. I just wake her up at like 7 o'clock at night. And then when I had to work the midnight shift, and I didn't even have kids at the time when I was working the midnight shift, I remember getting on the phone and calling her. It was so random as far as she was concerned because it was so long ago in her mind. And I just had to apologize for just being a stinker at, you know, 11, 12, 13, waking her up when she's trying to get some sleep so she can provide. So sometimes it's just stuff like that, you know. So let me know what you think. I was going to do this video differently, but then when I got outside, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do it as a walk and talking video. I got to my 8,000 steps on my Fitbit, y'all. So I'll chop it up and edit it. And yeah, tell me what you think. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And hopefully I didn't ramble too much. But let me know your mother-daughter experience. Has it been hashtag it's complicated? Or do you have a really good, warm, and fuzzy story of your childhood to tell me? That's wonderful. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of this evening. I see my daughter walking back. She said she was going to run for 30 minutes. It hasn't been a full 30 minutes. Take care of yourself and each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, this is Shawn Sandridge, and I was going over my video editing, and I don't think I touched on this subject. So this is going to be an addition to what I mentioned in the video. And it was about having boundaries. I think boundaries are very, very important. And I'll say it's important for both sides. And I also would say that if you hear the clinging, that's me walking my dog in the back parking lot of my building. When you talk about boundaries, and I think this is important, when you're either deciding to move on with your relationship with your parent, or you as a child feel like there has to be boundaries, or the parent has to be boundaries, I think on the outside looking in, it can be really misconstrued or misinterpreted as not being caring. And I'll say that because, again, we don't know what's going on. And I'll give you an example. But sometimes when you decide that you're going to continue a relationship, especially when you're an adult child, you do it on your own terms. And that can be distance. That can be how you spend time with each other. That can mean a lot of things. And on the outside looking in, it could appear that you don't care. Now, I know Jackie didn't go see her grandson. Well, we're not quite sure what the boundaries are. You know, maybe their relationship has been so tumultuous that she can't go visit them. Maybe it's best that there is distance between them. Even in a crisis, like, I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna try to do what I can, but it's still gonna be on my own terms. We don't know about money. You know, in some cases people go, why don't you give your kid money? Well, you know, maybe they haven't been good stewards of money. Maybe they've dealt with addictions and things like that, and giving them money is just not an option. Maybe you're at the end of your rope and it's just not something you're going to do anymore. It doesn't mean you don't love your child. And the same can go for the child. I can speak for myself. Distance for me was very paramount. The first 3 years I left home, I didn't go home. And then even after having children, I didn't visit very often, because I just felt like, you know, I feel like I've extended the olive branch, and if you want to come and see me, if you want to see me, you're gonna have to come and visit me. I'm not gonna make the visits all the time. So for me, I did distance. Made phone calls, I always kept in touch, always sent my mother flowers for Mother's Day, birthdays, things like that. You know, I took care of my mom as far as giving financial support, but visiting, I didn't do that very often for a very, very long time. So, you know, we have to take into account what boundaries people have in order to continue a relationship. You know, and that's why I say it's complicated. You know, you can love somebody, but you just can't be in the same room with them, or you just can't break bread with them. And again, if you are fortunate enough to have had a relationship where you just cannot fathom your mother not being there for you in the capacity that you feel, or you can't imagine them not seeing your grandchild, you know, you just never know these things. That's why I'm saying it's complicated. And hey, I'll reiterate again, because I don't want it to seem like I'm Team Jackie. I believe in boundaries, and I believe in healthy relationships. And I will promote a healthy relationship at all costs. I think it's important to preserve your psyche. whether you're the parent or the mother, and you have to do what's best for you at the end. And I think that if you've been on this earth long enough, you realize that things aren't so cut and dry, so black and white, and on the surface things look really crazy, and it's not always the case. So I don't know if I touched on that, but I do believe in having healthy relationships, especially when you're an adult. I think so many times many of us will take what has been done in our childhood, and as I say, our experiences are experiences, and I'm not telling anybody to forget their experiences, absolutely not. But sometimes when things have been done wrong to us, that we let it stay. I would say there's a term, too much time in my head, free rent, you know, like it's stewing in my head and now it's living there in real time for free in my head space. And I don't think that people who have hurt you should have that much power over you. You need to take back your power, and one way to do that is by boundaries. So I hope that straighten up any confusion, because I don't want it to seem like I don't feel like Takari as the child should not have her feelings being told. Like I said, if the book helps her get through that, I say fine. But then after the book, then what do you do as an adult? Okay, because believe it or not, these grandchildren are going to get older and they may want to see their grandmother. So then you need to make that decision for looking forward. What is that going to look like? What is that all going to look like? Are you going to try to mend the relationship? Are you going to have boundaries? What is that going to look like? And I wouldn't want any of them. I feel bad for both parties, because this is all showing up on TV and stuff, and I don't care who you are. Nobody wants their personal business out there like that. But unfortunately, everybody made Jackie's real life situation a storyline, and she wasn't trying to have it like that. But we'll see how it all goes. But I do plan to live tweet, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, please let me know what you think. Have you had a complicated relationship with your mother? How have you dealt with it? Was forgiveness part of that component in dealing with a complicated relationship? Were you able to mend the relationship, or is it still ongoing and complicated? As long as we're dealing with human beings, sometimes things are going to stay complicated. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me. Take care of yourself and each other. Bye.